It's the book of Genesis, chapter 60. It's the book of Genesis, chapter 47, and starting at verse 13, and it reads, "And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for the corn which they brought, for the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money to Pharaoh's house." Verse 15, "And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? And faileth." Verse 16, "And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year." Verse 18, "When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, We will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent. My Lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my body. Slucky. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our lands." Verse 19, "Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate." Result to the famine. Verse 20, "And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end thereof." Verse 22, "Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands." Verse 23, "Then Joseph said unto the people, Behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land." I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to Kohalayim La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Hakodash. Double honors to the elders, to the apostles that I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aqua, thought they're listening and learning. Lord, willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say Shalom. Brother Yahweh coming into another lesson through the Spirit, through the power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. Yahweh meaning He is, He exists, or He to be. By Hashem, by His in, Haz, the Hashem, His name, Yahushai, meaning He saves or He delivers. Two names of the Most High God and His Son, who these people ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. And this lesson is inspired. I said I was going to go into something on prophecy or something like that, and through the Spirit, Lord gave me a video. It's a guy, I think his name Richard Wolff. He's an economist. I've never really watched him. I was in the spirit of following a lot of different economists, but I was just playing video, like I was listening to a video, and then the brother's video went off, and the Spirit just jumped on with him, and he was saying so much, so spiritual. I was like, yeah, that's the lesson. So, without further ado, because I came with Genesis 47 because it talked about the money felon, and these devils, they have pretty much done a diligent search. So they searched out the scriptures. That's why they do all these excavations. They always find in the Bible, So it's already proven the Bible is a spiritual book. It's already proven that. See, the thing with Esau is though he's a carnal man, as opposed to us. We have faith. We believe. Esau, Edom, they have to see. Seeing is believing with them. So, at the end of the day, and they hoping what we saying isn't the truth. So they nervous, you know what I mean? And he was just breaking down so much stuff, and I was just like, that's the Spirit. But this devil has done a diligent search, so he utilizes things that took place in history because, they say if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's certain tactics and certain, like order out of chaos. That's a tactic. Fear being used as a weapon, food as a weapon. What's that? The Hegelian dialectic, as above, so below. Oppression from of above and below, to get the reaction that they want. So all these different things have been utilized throughout, the different centuries because these are mechanisms or tools for control. And basically, you know, food has always been able to be used as a weapon. So if they engineer a famine, which they are doing, and they are showing you that that's a spirit because they look what they did with the food stamps. Now, me myself, I don't know what they gonna do. I know they told me some shit like they took my shit away and then they gave it back. But from what I keep saying, they keep on talking about everybody got to reapply. I still ain't got no food stamps. And now the thing is, I'm not really concerned because the Lord blessed me, call loyal to put me in a position where I can afford to, buy some food if need be, or you know what I mean. I got I got food, so it's like call loyal. Again, I'm a dummy, but I'm not a complete dummy. How the elder labeled the title of the video, which I didn't get to watch. I just saw part of it. He said, uh, "Suffer not to speak to a fool," roughly paraphrased, but speak to him. It's funny because I was just speaking about fools. But yeah. So without further ado, I'm gonna play some of this because it caught my attention. And he going in. So fair use, fair use. I'm not profiting off of this. I'm just about to line some things he said with the scriptures. Lord willing, this is edifying. Copyright disclaimer, fair use.
Welcome, friends, to another Wolf Responds. This one, like last week's, is called Government Shutdown, The Real Story, Continued. I want this time to look at it all from the standpoint of what, at least in principle, Mr. Trump is trying to do. Because it is what Mr. Trump believes the donors to his effort, his supporters, want him to do. What is that? Well, one of the key things in their mind is something they're worried about. For the last 30 years, the United States has borrowed vast sums of money, far more money than it borrowed in the century before that or the century before that. It's almost as though you could say for the last 30 or 40 years, the country is like a jalopy, not working on the gas anymore, it's working on the fumes of the gas they used to have in the tank. We've been borrowing money. First it was tens of billions, then hundreds of billions, and now trillions of dollars. More than $1 trillion in a single year, sometimes more than $2 trillion in a single year. So our national debt has accumulated all the way up to $36, $37 trillion. Hard to get your head around it. We are the most indebted country in the world in terms of how much we owe. We are an extraordinarily in debt-ridden country. It's so bad that over the last year or two, the 3 agencies in the world that happen to be American, who measure the creditworthiness of all borrowers, governments, corporations, and so on. And by the way, their names are Standard & Poor, Moody's, and Fitch. All 3 of them, separately, independently, have reduced the creditworthiness of the AAA rating, the best you can get, down to AA. It was a way of making very clear that the United States has borrowed so much money that anyone thinking of lending more money to the government, and that means buying the Treasury bonds and securities, which is how the federal government borrows, anyone thinking of doing that is being told, think again. And those creditors of the U.S. have told American governments very clearly, we are not willing to keep lending to you. You're borrowing too much. What does that mean? I want to explain that so everyone is clear. What the creditor means, who says that to Uncle Sam or today to President Trump, what they're saying is, look, we know from the long history of countries that borrow too much that at a certain point their people rebel. Why? Because the government cuts public programs that people need to use the money instead to pay back the debts they owe.
And that's why we're seeing this police state being manifest right before our eyes. Because this is nothing new. You got to remember, a lot of the economics go back to ancient Babylon. The whole fiat currency system go back to, if I'm not mistaken, Babylon. Basically where the banks are allowed is witchcraft. I think it was a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, and it's talked about back then how, bankers was able to manipulate money. But the whole system of taking actual physical cash and then loaning you money based on ones and zeros, that's witchcraft, that's sorcery. Because they lending you something they don't really have. Like, they give you a loan of $50,000, but they want collateral. They want a home, they want a business, they want these certain things. And if you default on that loan, now they have an actual real hard asset. That's sorcery. So that's why we seeing you got these ICE, and you got so much stuff going on, they keeping you distracted with the fact that the economy is crashing. And it's so deep because that's why they did this. And he's going to break it down so eloquently. Like, pretty much they had to shut the shit down. And I always said this. I said, what's they call that when you have a corporate takeover? If you ever seen the movie Pretty Woman, which was a dumbass movie to me, because this dude was like a wealthy dude and he fell in love with a prostitute. Now, people are eccentric and you know what I mean? But that's so fucking far-fetched. You know what I mean? Like, this nigga fell in love with a prostitute and just gonna say, like, come on, man. But I mean, it's a movie though, right? Highly weird. But the point of me bringing it up is Richard Gere's character, what he did was he bought businesses that were, like they could be businesses that are doing well. And that's, they call it a corporate takeover. I can't think of the name of that movie. I think it's called Phenomenal or Phenomenal. It got John Travolta. And basically John Travolta, a chariot hit him and gave him spiritual power. So basically, he was able to do telekinesis. His memory was multiplied to the point he could remember and read all these books. And he was like an average Joe because he lived in a small town. But then he literally, like, he was given these spiritual powers, and he was able to, like, he became a phenom. But at the same time, he ended up like getting a tumor because his brain, like pretty much what they say, your brain is only allowed, you only use like a certain percentage of your brain. When the Heavenly Father, Abanawa Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, unlocks, our spirit, gives us them new bodies, we're going to be able to use 100% of our mind. So anyhow, point I bring it up for is the first time I seen it, but I think they do got a law in the books. Basically, John Travolta was dying, but he didn't want to die in the hospital. But it was a doctor that basically was so fascinated with his case, he went to a judge and basically had him sign where pretty much they signed John Travolta over to the hospital. Yeah. And I was like, man, that can't be possible. But shit, we don't even own our children. When you do all these contracts and, sign it, they teach you that cursive, but that actually is like a spell. This place is like absolutely nothing what you think it is. And we are blessed to actually have been given. And the thing is, with truth is, it's going to take sacrifices for, the truth to be exposed. But ultimately, this is the will of the Lord. You know what I mean? The scriptures talk about, because I don't mean to come up off as like crazy or, you know what I mean? Like, again, who really want to, I got children and whatnot. But at the same time, I heard the beloved elder say that, he said, death is really better than this. When you see the system they got set up and the tyranny or the tyranny that they, however you want to pronounce it, the tyranny that they got like in their minds they about to do, they creating a system. Okay, you a problem. We about to come get you. Like if you ever seen V for Vendetta, they'll come get you at nighttime. You know what I mean? And the crazy part is, I liked the V for Vendetta until I found out Guy Fawkes tried to blow up King James and them. Ain't that something? Never knew he tried to blow up King James Parliament. Fucking devil. So yeah. So that's why you're going to have what the scriptures talk about. Let me get it. 2nd Ezra chapter 15. In the last days, I want that one. Talk about 2nd Ezra chapter 15 talks about they shall not regard their kings or princes. Woe to the 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition, for there shall be sedition among men. And they'll say that sedition is inciting people to go up against the government. Ain't nobody's telling nobody to do anything. We're reading scriptures. We're telling you this is actually the will of the Lord. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody got no. We not sitting back training and sitting in the woods. Like, this is the spirit the Lord putting out there. The Lord put that spirit of civil war, and that shit went back to Marvel with Captain America against Iron Man, which that was a comic book before anything. Showing you how this is all spiritual. I always keep on bringing up the fact that the Sentry, which the Sentry ain't the strongest character in the Marvel universe. I think they said it's Reed Richards' son, Franklin Richards. But then, they say, again, that's the thing with that stuff. They always gonna be able to manipulate. No, this one is stronger than that one. Like, it's so many characters that's supposed to be more infinitely stronger than the other ones. So that's fantasy, you know what I mean? Because ultimately, the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, is, all-encompassing, all-powerful, omnipotent. But he is going to give special men, endow them with spiritual power. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of the pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, even these women. I saw a video where the dude was getting into with his woman, and you had some niggas come out of the cut and beat the dog shit out of dude. And they was in the spirit. That was the Lord. For whatever reason, the Lord had that man judged like that. But then I see a video 2 days later, 2 young niggas rob an old lady for a carjacker. And that's the spirit the Lord put into the earth. A spirit of chaos. A spirit of violence. And one moment they save a female, the next moment they and this was an elderly woman. So yeah, motherfuckers sitting up there talking about the Lord. Man, listen. That's why you better get right with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but so how much more so when it ain't no food? They gonna take these women food. Take your fucking kids' food. They shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Back into the video. Fair use, fair use.
To pay back the debts they owe, to pay interest on the debts they owe. And the more debts, the more of the money that they have to collect each year to pay back a portion of it and to pay interest on it. So sooner or later, the time will come, and I'm going to tell you in a few moments that it's already here for the U.S., when the government is cutting back on things people need and want. And pretty soon, those people who get denied, like all the people that are on the SNAP program, the program that we used to call food stamps. 42 million of our people rely on them. Those people are going to understand, if not today, well then tomorrow, that the money the government is saving on paying for their food stamps is being used instead to service the debt, to pay interest to those who have lent to the government. And of course, who lends to the U.S. government? Among Americans, big corporations, banks, insurance companies, and the richest individuals. The rest of us are not in a position to lend big bucks to the U.S. government. And foreign countries lend to the U.S. government. Japan and China rank number 1 and 2 in terms of lenders. And they're not willing to lend anymore. And American banks and insurance companies they don't want to lend to somebody who may at a certain point say, I'm really sorry, I can't pay the interest I owe you, because if I do that, I won't have money for the food needed by the people who vote for me. And at that point, the politicians will be in a tough spot, and the creditors don't want to come out on the short end of that little situation. So they're saying to Mr. Trump, you got to cut back on spending, and you got to do it in a big enough way that we see you're serious. You kind of got to show us, Mr. Trump, that you're willing to stick it to your own people to save money to pay our interest and to pay back the loan we've made to you. They put that to Mr. Trump, and he didn't have a minute's hesitation. Stick it to the American people, watch me. So here's what he did. In the early weeks of his government, after he took office on the 20th of January, he did a piece of political flim-flam that was truly stunning. Together with his buddy and financier, Mr. Tesla Automobile, Elon Musk, he foisted on us the Department of Government Efficiency. They were not efficiency people. They were firing everyone. They went through whole departments, like the education department, and fired everybody. They went to the foreign aid program of the United States and fired everybody. That's not making things efficient. That's finding an excuse, efficiency, to fire tens, then hundreds, then of thousands, and then millions of people from federal jobs who you don't have to pay anymore. He's sticking it to the federal employees to save money that he gives to the creditors. After 4 months, we began to feel as a nation that we didn't have a government in Washington taking care of business. And it began to look bad. And there began to be consequences that made Mr. Trump look like he was doing something that wasn't very good. And even Elon Musk said goodbye to that program once it turned sour. But Mr. Trump knows his business. So as soon as he couldn't play the flim-flam of government efficiency, he came up with a new flim-flam. Shut the government down. That goes one better than laying off large numbers of workers. Simply shut it down. That lays off all the workers. Many have not been paid for 40 days or more. And no budget that they have to spend, the government is shut down. And he saves more money that he can use to pay off the creditors. And he can say to the creditors, which is why he's doing this, look, I'm taking steps to improve the finances of the government. I'm raising money by tariffs, at least a little.
Which they've already deemed illegal. So, and like I said, I believe that he's going to have to pay those back. And then, like I said, again, like pretty much he's like liquidating the country. So that's why they probably been having to pay that debt back. That's why they've been stressing about all the debt all this year. I mean, you've heard them speak on it, but you've never heard them speak on it to this degree. I haven't. And now they talk about China. China is in cahoots with Russia. China owns a lot of America. So, which is funny to me because they're in cahoots, but at the same time, they all jockeying for position. How are you going to try to rule over somebody, but you try to borrow money from them at the same time? Like, that's some crazy shit. That's like a nigga talking shit about somebody, but you need them to give you a ride home type shit. Like, motherfuckers is retarded. It's funny and not funny at all. You know what I mean? You talking shit, but you need me. What the fuck wrong with you?
And I'm lowering spending.
Like the elder said, a
sticking
fool.
it to federal workers and then sticking it to all the people who benefit from governmental programs. But then again, after a few weeks, this doesn't turn out to look so good, and Mr. Trump is stuck again. What happened this time? Well, let's see. 42 million people who depend on the SNAP program are not getting enough to eat, and everybody sees it, and everybody says, how is it in a rich country like the United States that we can't provide food for our poor people on a scale like this? And what is Mr. Trump going to say? He just spent a fortune on military. He's just squeezed the American people to free up the money to pay back the lenders, the rich who lend to the U.S. What's he going to do? How's he going to justify that? But here was the really big one. It turns out the government, which does so many things to keep this economy going, including borrowing all that money, it's the government that makes it possible for the airplanes that come and go from airports not to crash into one another. And if the government isn't paying the air traffic controllers because it's shut down, well, guess what? The air traffic controller, unpaid, wondering what's going to happen, how long he's going to be unpaid, starts looking for another job. What else can he do? For a while, he'll have two jobs, or maybe three, and he'll be real tired. Just what you don't want in an air traffic controller. Or he'll quit, or he'll say he's sick, so he can look for another job. And we're having trouble at our airports. And airlines, fearing that they'll be sued if there are crashes, cancel flights, delay flights, reroute flights. And that affects everybody who uses the airport. All of those rich people, they're major users. All of those corporate executives. All of those government mucky-mucks. Now they begin to feel the pain that they're pushing on all the rest of us. So they have to bring that to a stop. Wow. And the Democrats, who don't oppose hardly anything Mr. Trump is doing, who could mobilize everybody to oppose it and really make a difference. The Democratic Party is still the party of at least half the people. It could really make an opposition, but it doesn't do that. So the accusation of complicity with the Republicans fits. And after 8 senators from the Democratic Party caved in and gave the Republicans what they demanded to stop the shutdown government, the Republicans are exposed and have to do it. So Mr. Trump...
Scripture says, nothing can work against the truth but for the truth. So, although a lot of brothers was kind of saddened by the fact that the government opened back up, we also know they shouldn't even open it back up. And it's showing you that, because look at how long they was able to fund it. They only able to borrow this much money to, you get what I'm saying? Because they're borrowing the money. I think brother was just going into the World Bank of Settlements, because they could see that the people are on edge. And again, when this shit happened here, again, I just read a headline. They was talking about it was another assault on ICE in Chicago. I don't know how true it is. Only the brothers that's there, But it won't take nothing for the Lord to put a spirit. I heard the elder just speak on that. Right now Judah is really roused up. But like I said, I always go into the Huff riots. It was riots throughout the country. The neighborhood of Huff in Cleveland had the riots. And niggas was so riled up, they burnt down their own shit. What they say, this one ain't gonna be televised.
We'll now have to find another flim flam after the Department of Government Efficiency came and went, and the government shutdown came and went.
And when you see this, for the way he's pointed out, you can see it exactly like that. They came in, now it's all this fraud with the food stamps. So it's funny. What is you gonna say when next month comes and motherfuckers don't get their food stamps? Because again, they're telling me we're gonna get them by the end of the month. They're telling me certain people got partial and they're gonna get the other partial this week. They ain't even telling me when I'll get mine, but I qualify for them now. And like I said before, fuck a bottle. I'll get 2 packs of meat for my children. Okay, I got food. Call a lawyer, how about you outside? Something little like, to see how people take things for. I was homeless. You take for granted taking a shower until you can't take it. Like Charles and White bitch ass made a statement, but it was true. He said the man is not appreciated until he's no longer here.
He'll come up with another way to cut back the money being spent on what the people need, so that he can use that money and
make a lot of sense, right? That money's supposed to went to the food stamps, but they took that money and they paid on that debt. Now wait till you got 50, 60,000 people pissed off because you done told them that they get this food.
instead to pay back the super rich the money they lent to.
And that's why I always speak about how stupid these people is. Because trust me, I remember when I didn't qualify for food stamps, and then I used to be around niggas that got it, these nothing ass bitches that was getting it. I'm like, man, and I couldn't qualify for it. I'm barely able to survive. I'm in school at the time, working the job and in school. Only really eating because I work at a fucking restaurant. But the thing is this, we gonna pay tax dollars until the shit over with. Like, they gonna figure out a way to give you, UBI and still figure out a way to tax it. That's how much the devil.
U.S. government, and to pay them interest for making the loan in the first place. If ever you wanted an example of how the government serves a minority at the expense of the majority, you're living through it right now. You're being required to pay the usual taxes while getting less government service. And you know who benefits?
And that's deep, because what he's saying is the truth. Right now, you're expected to pay, like for these data centers, the price of energy about to go up. Although your raises or your wages didn't go up. And again, he's just trying to appease people. People so stupid. Like, it's like I could clearly see through the shit he's saying. It was like the Lord sent me to certain information. They're like, yeah, $2,000. They're like, man, based on the fact of how many people it is and how much money he collected, he can't possibly do that. Now they talking about, yeah, it's going to be sometime next year. So like the beloved elder bishop said, it's like they dangling a carrot in front of your face. And I'm the type of individual, I ain't about to follow your ass. They can break the piece of it right here. The fuck?
Rich. First thing Mr. Trump did was the big, beautiful tax bill, which cut their taxes and spending on.
Oh wow, I did not know that. So it cut the taxes that the rich got to pay, but but it cut all the programming and the programs for the needy. And you don't see this is a recipe for disaster. I'm gonna play this rest of this out again. Fair use, fair use.
On them is not what's being cut. It's food stamps. It's help to colleges and universities. Only when a little of the cutback bounces back and hurts them at the top do we suddenly get an, oh, it's got to stop. The real message?
Right. You're like a nigga. You've been causing all this confusion, but as soon as something happened to you, yeah, that's a nigga for you.
To Mr. Trump, be more careful, Mr. Trump.
It's one way when it ain't affecting you, but then when it's affecting you, now it's a whole different way you're going to actually approach the situation, huh?
Job is to squeeze only at the bottom and in the middle and to serve the top. And you Democrats, shame on you for not being the opposition to that.
Well, the thing is, like they said, the elders broke down, the Democrats all, pretty much tyrannical governments or, what's the word, draconian governments came from Democrats, when actually the Republicans were supposed to be for the people, or the republics, Even Star Wars show you that. Palpatine, the Sith Lord, remember he was the ruler of that, but the spiritual, because Star Wars is a very spiritual movie. Again, it's based off of Solomon. That's why Jedediah. And basically, you had to choose between the force, the good side or the bad side. And ultimately, it's deep because we go into Darth Vader. Darth Vader ended up choosing the bad side, but then he ended up becoming good again. So deep. That nigga's a weirdo though. Made a lot of money off that shit, but he's a weirdo. So it's about a lot of pain about to come again. You got people that's up there ecstatic. Oh, the government's open back up. Me myself, I don't even see them. They might, like the elder was saying, certain people might get food stamps, certain people can't. May not. They never gave me a date. They like, yeah, you qualify. It's all the way good up to such time. I'm just glad that they still won't be paying certain shit. You know what I mean? That's why I'm trying to grow my children up to the point where you going because they can cut, daycare vouchers and all that shit at any time. And that's why the scriptures, I'm about to read this because it talk about those settle on their leaves. Talk about rise up, you depart you women that are at ease. This is the book of Zephaniah chapter 1. I thought that was in here. Oh, yeah, it is. It's verse 12. It says, verse Zephaniah 1 and 8, and it shall come to pass in that day, it shall come to pass.
Your social security check should have increased last month.
And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. And the same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that there shall be a noise, there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills, which represents pretty much the stock market crashing. What was that? What month was that when they was talking about the stock market was losing all that money? And this pretty much shows you how everything's manipulated. I had to go to go pretty much, because like I said, I've been having to use, and it's spiritual too, because again, one of the reasons why I got a lot of those precious metals was because of the fact, I'm looking to look out for the brothers, you know what I mean? I always felt, the Lord put me around brothers, and the brothers looked out when it was time, that was the spirit of the Lord, that was the Lord ultimately, but, I was in a position to do certain things, but, now that I'm by myself, it's like, I've had to use these things for me and my household. And it's probably, again, I'm grateful because we got it in our mind that the story ends at such and such. That's what hope is. We all want to be delivered. But at the same time, you got to also keep in mind, just imagine how many of the apostles, as far as in the scriptures, in the book of Acts, the Acts of the Apostles, how many of them didn't realize how they was going, you think Stephen thought he was going go actually be stoned to death? Right. So we don't know how the movie ends. And like I said, again, I'm not trying to put no bad thoughts or whatnot, but like the elder brother had made a statement. He said, you prepare learning how to live in the woods and make fires, but you've probably heard health insurance. Actually prepared your mind and meditated on the fact of being a martyr or persecution or having to be put to death. And a brother just did a video titled that. Prepare your mind for martyrdom. Because we don't know how it's going to end. And the Lord may test you all the way up until the point of, putting your head up under that guillotine and then give you the spiritual power. Might try to send the guillotine and that motherfucker break. The blade break. That's what imagination and fantasy do, right? Or is that faith? Regardless, as a believer, you got the victory already. Verse 11. How ye inhabitants of Mektesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver and are cut off. Because at the end of the day, the money gonna fail. I read that in Genesis, and this is going into it too. At the end of the day, when you understand how the system works, and that makes sense when he broke it down. He was like, well, shit, what he's doing is he's paying back, because you got to think about it. The amount of money that they actually borrow. So think about this. For the food stamp program, they said it's $8 billion a month. So just imagine the interest they gotta pay. Them whenever who's
food stamps running out of money because of the shut.
Who says when they got to pay back the interest? Typically, I think it's like each year, but it might be each month. Who's to say how they wrote that up? But it makes sense. He's doing little trick moves to try to push the kid down the road, and the Lord about to stop that shit. That's why they say, the government only open for the next 3 months, if that. December, January. That's 2 fucking months. That ain't even 90 days. If you got the vision, you can see this devil running out of options. So he gonna have to come down with great wrath. And you'll be a fucking fool to trust in this devil. Donald Trump fought tooth and nail not to release the Epstein files, but now he's talking about, I'm going to release it.
Guys, this was all over the news.
You got to wonder if they go try and actually cover up names and shit. You know what I mean? Because again, how they do that redacted shit. Because like I said again, we got to wait on the motherfuckers that's the criminals to give us the information. This is how bullshit this system is. Fucking cracker ass police officer look me in the face. I'm inventorying. No, you looking for shit. And then the thing is, the car ain't even in my name. So if you found something, it's mine, huh? I mean, possession is 9/10 of the law. What I kept on bringing up is a bomb in the truck. It was a truth bomb. I had my signs, all my books and shit. That devil looked at that fucking sign, and that's when he closed up the fucking trunk. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are settled on their leads. Like those Red and Stimpy. Ah, man, it is so cold because the Lord just exposing them. And again, I think one of the, I don't know, you got Deacon Hakai and I think one of them was Hakai. They both names start with an H. But the one that went up and popped up on one of the brothers' caps, I remember that, and he literally sincerely was looking for answers. I think he just spiritually I think he's spiritually being ran to for fro, I think he kind of fucked up,
Congratulations.
I think the other the guy that used to be with Sakari that was up under Al-Azhar, I think he's manipulating him. That's just my opinion. You can see it though. Like when he popped up at the brother's cap, he was sincerely looking for answers. And man, the scriptures talk about these wicked pastors, these wicked prophets. You just changed up the whole doctrine. Get the fuck, like I said, now I see the brother of how he did the thumbnail with vocab in the middle. I see what the elder be saying. Vocab do, that could be the Lord fucking with us, but vocab be looking like a Jake sometimes. He don't got no soul though. But that nigga is demonic like a 2/3 nigga. Therefore, their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit it. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. And that's why the scriptures say, be as a pilgrim on the earth. You got people trying to build here when this shit over with. The great day of the Lord Yahweh Shai is near. It is near and hasteneth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord Yahweh Shai, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. So, it ain't going to be no kumbaya, no singing and dancing. It's going to be, trouble. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Remember thy 12, I'm starting verse 1. Remember thou thy creator the days of thy youth while the evil days come not. Right now you still got the opportunity to go out. My female friend, she went to where they just had the storm at. Somewhere I think it was near the Dominican Republic. And I'm up there in my mind oh no, she ain't making it back. Because remember they had the storm and shit. And then right now you got all this stuff going on. Now I'm like, because people fickle. I was just talking to her. She about to have to pick up a second job, and she's supposed to get one decent job. I'll be honest, I was thinking about trying to pick up a second job, but I know I can't do all of this by myself. The work got to be done. I'd rather take less and barely get by as opposed to just trying to kill myself. But I was just thinking about she got a good job. She literally stayed with her peoples. So her bills ain't my bills, and she got to get another job. Just show you, a brother titled the lesson day. He said, you ain't going to owe nothing in the future, or the future going to be very miserable, something along the lines of that. And that's what they setting up, a dystopian future. Where they monitor, you acting out of line. Okay, we gonna come get your ass. When you think of evil plots and evil characters in movies, this nigga, Esau Edom is diabolical. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It says, Lord, the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Before you said you have no pleasure in the world, you're supposed to be trying to seek to serve the Lord. The scriptures tell you in this same chapter, the whole duty of an Israelite man is to serve the Most High and keep fear the Most High and keep his commandments. To fear the Most High is one of the commandments. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, while this truth is still here, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, nor the clouds return after the rain. And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, these economists, and that guy was trembling, Mr. Wolf, and the strong man shall bow themselves and the grinders cease, meaning the jobs. And come on, like I said, you heard what he said. He said they laid off all these people. They really fired all these people. While they're firing people, you got all these major companies firing people. I'm looking at the job I'm working at. I'm grateful to call lawyer, blah, y'all, but I'm trying to have a job. But I can see a lot, they making products for stores that maybe once people can't afford that shit, they're no longer going to be in the business. I'm not in a big company. You get what I'm saying? I'm at a company that pretty much has been in business for years, and although technology and things are changing, they still got a client base. They could maybe have a cheap product, whatever the case may be. Shit, be honest, the product we make, I don't see nothing local on it. So they making this particular product and sending it to places somewhere else. So that ain't very much job security. And that's why the scriptures say, be as pilgrims on the earth. Don't try to hold on to this shit. Hold on to this truth. And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, because they see no hope here. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinder is low. Brothers talking about how they having trouble finding jobs. Jake catching the beating. But again, it's designed that way, to have complete faith, trust, confidence, and hope in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. When the sound of the ground is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, those that get up early, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And the music is garbage right now. So, 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22, the full storehouses being empty. 2 Ezra 6 and 22, 2, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Those storehouses got food, but at the same time, a lot of people can't afford the food. All this is actually by design, if you could clearly see it, because they trying to shut down the system. You know, like the elder brother did the video. He said this is a big ass welfare state. It ain't just certain people on welfare. These companies get welfare because the food stamps keep the economy going. So by you stopping that shit, what do you think? What at the end of the year, would these companies need to make a profit? They was just talking about McDonald's. Even though they brought back that dollar menu, it still didn't, because most poor people can't afford to even buy that shit. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. I just was in a grocery store yesterday. That shit was empty as fuck. So at the end of the day, the Lord got a multitude of calamities set up to come to pass in this place. But those that have hope in Yahweh Shem Shah, the Lord got. This is book of Zechariah 9 and verse. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. This is the book of Zechariah 9 and verse 12. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. And that's when the Lord, is basically back dealing with us. The scriptures talk about who shall, Judah is a roaring lion, who shall rouse. I'm butchering it, but Judah is an old lion, who shall rouse him up. And it's spiritual because I just looked up, a verse. And this came up, so I used it. But the elder was just talking about, I forgot what the name of the title of the lesson was, but he was talking about, when the Lord put the spirit on Judah, Judah going, and it's going to be the Lord's spirit, the Lord's anger on Judah. Verse 13, when I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece. Talking about putting Jacob against Esau, made thee as a sword of a mighty man, and the Lord Yahweh shall be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and the Lord Yahweh power shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with the whirlwinds of the south. Verse 15, the Lord Yahweh host shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls and as the corners of the altar. You got Psalms 91, you got Isaiah 65. The Lord is going to be with his, what's that, Luke, is that 18? For the Lord's election's sake. For the Lord's elect. So, it's multitude of scriptures about how the Lord is going to protect, provide, and care for his elect. Verse 16, the point, and the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, their power shall save them in that day as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown, lifted up as an ensign upon his land. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young man corn shall make the young men cheerful, and new wine the maids. But ultimately going into the Lord taking care of his elect, If the Lord ain't with you with what's about to take place, yeah. Oh, it. So if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Simple Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh Shem Shah. You will be destroyed with that. We're going to give all praise, all honor, all glory to call Lord Yahweh, Shem Shah, Shem. Kodash Thumb, double honors to the elders, to the apostles that I learned this truth from. Peace and salutation to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aquathon that listen to the learning. Lord willingly, this is edified. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land and other nations appearing like the other nations, but subscribe to this truth. To you, I say Shalom. Until next time, Lord willingly, Shalom, Shalom. Kwab Yasharala, Wath Lababal.